Hey everybody, I'm Andy Smith. I'm a 30-year comic book veteran, having worked for Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Image Comics, Cross Generation, Ominous Press. You name it, I've probably worked for them. And I do other things art-wise outside of comics in the field of advertising. I've also written some books on drawing comics you might have seen. Drawing American manga superheroes, Drawing Dynamic Comics was my first book. And I also did the handy little How to Draw Superhero sketchbook where all you need is a pencil because you do all the work right inside the book. Enough about that. This is the Book Look series. The Book Look series is where I grab a book off my library. You can see the tons of books I have behind me. And I go through it page by page with you so you can see if it's a book that you might want to buy. I like to know what I want to buy before I buy it, and I feel this is a way to give you some insight into these books. So join me for today's book look. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. This is your host with the most, Andy Smith, 32-year veteran of the comic book industry, with another book look. Last week, if you remember, we did cartoons, How to Draw Cartoon Cars by George Trostley, famous for Cartoons Magazine. And I asked if people might want to see How to Draw Cars the Hot Wheels Way by Scott Robertson with the Hot Wheels designers. Scott Robertson is a fantastic designer. I definitely recommend you looking him up. I think he has a YouTube channel. I will check, and if he does, I will link it in the description below. Let's dive in. How to Draw Cars the Hot Wheels Way. This book has special meaning to me just because when I first started drawing as a kid, I was drawing cars in elementary school. In fact, in third grade, we had a substitute teacher who I guess was an artist, and I was known for drawing cars, and my school friends were like, yeah, he can draw better than you. Why don't you two see who can draw a car better and stuff? And I think the teacher just humored me. But, you know, it was fun. I collected Hot Wheels and Matchbox as a kid, and I still have them actually in my closet, and each one is wrapped individually in a paper towel for cushioning and put in a little plastic bag. My dad did that for me. So I still have them. So anyhow, contents here, you know, typical stuff, acknowledgments, forward, introduction, tools, proportion. That's right, proportion for cars. Perspective drawing, perspective, adding details, designing, styling, sketching techniques. If I remember right, that's a pretty cool chapter. Make it shiny, probably about coloring, 3D modeling. Now that is very cool. And then I like this, schools, websites, books, and final thoughts. Most of these how to draw books are always around 144 pages. This says 2004 for the introduction, so I'm guessing this book, I always look, that's right, this book is almost 20 years old. Tools and materials, here we go. Man, that is freaking cool. I'm sure this explains as we move on what the quote-unquote Hot Wheels way means. Sorry about the shine. Shiny paper. What are you going to do? So, there we go. These are cool renderings, though. All done by hand. 1972. A few of these are dated. So, that's cool, taking you back. Talks about your workspace, you know, papers, different pencils, colored pencils and stuff, markers, Pilot permanent felt tip, permawash for laundry. That's interesting. This is one I've never actually seen before. Razor point. I've seen all these other pens before. It's cool, though, to be able to go through and see how the artist uses them. Copic markers, of course, Pantone, Prismacolor, all different types. Of course, French curves, things like that. Gouache for some nice opaque effects on top. So here we go, getting into proportion. And there is definitely a certain way They do proportion. You can see with Hot Wheels especially, they're really exaggerated. At least they were. I haven't really gone down the section of toy cars in a long time. I'm assuming Hot Wheels is still kind of busting out these cool designs and stuff. At least I would hope. So just going in, explaining, and even if you're an art enthusiast, this is a cool book to get just because of the drawings and stuff. Perspective drawing. Talks about wheels. Probably be nice if they showed a little more. I like how to draw books that have equal amount of text and showing. Using photos with underlays. When doing an original car, the Mattel designers usually make up the design in their heads. The same often goes for hot rod or muscle car, but when designing a Hot Wheels car for an existing vehicle, it's necessary to do research. You have to pay attention to the details. So they're just saying how they will collect photos and stuff to go off of. Like I said, the thing I love about this book is so far all these drawings were done by hand. Every bit of them. Going into perspective, that is just super cool. This looks way cool here. This almost looks Star Wars-esque in a way. And this one does go into some more perspective, just the basics, nothing too heavy. I love stuff like this. I like this stage a lot, actually. Don't get me wrong, I like the full color stuff, but there's just something about seeing it at that stage that if I did stuff like this, I think after I got it to this point, I would love to just be able to pass it off to somebody else. It kind of goes back, life lesson, if you will. When I was in the Kubert school, I was so focused on wanting to pencil and ink comic books that even though we learned color and lettering and stuff, I wish I would have paid attention a little bit more, especially in my painting class, because I had Julie Bell as, not Julie Bell, I'm sorry. Julie Bell is the painter, fantasy painter that's married to Boris Vallejo. I had Rowena Morell, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, as a teacher in the Kubert school, who was also unfortunately she passed away a few years ago, fantasy painter along the same lines of Boris. And, like an idiot, because I didn't want to paint for a living, I wanted to just pencil. I basically blew that class off, which was just stupid, because the knowledge that woman had, and if I really would have I had that class for a full year, 9 months, once a week. And if I could go back, I would work my ass off in that class, because, look at stuff now. Guys like Alex Ross, still kicking it, doing original paintings. Joe Jusko, and they're not the only two. And, I wish I just would have paid a little more attention. So, oh well, life lesson I try to impart to my daughter. This is cool. Ellipses are tough in perspective. Now, when it comes to this book, they stick with really traditional ellipses and stuff compared to, if you remember last week's book, the cartooning book for Cars, they really pushed the ellipses and stuff out of perspective with the car to show motion. In this book, they're not really doing that as much. This is very helpful for putting your ellipses in the proper perspective here. So this is a really good section on perspective. Minor access correct, degree correct. I see so many cars, and in the 70s, Jack Kirby, John Buscema, guys like that, they were just freehand and all that stuff. But, and they made it work. Sometimes it didn't, but a lot of times it did. But in comics today, I still see a lot of cars drawn where the tires just look totally effed up because they're not placed properly. So it's important to learn this. See, now this wheel right here, this is right, this is wrong. However, the wheel's tipped, right? So it looks like it's bowed out some, which if the car was moving and you were trying to really show motion, you could get away with doing that because it would really help force the movement of the car. But when they're doing the Hot Wheels stuff like this, they keep them accurate. This I thought was really, really cool here. Showing, this is perspective section drawing. So this is the contour of the outline of the car. And this is also, if I remember right, we'll get to the next step and see, I believe that's the center of it. So then they, they bring out some of the side and they pull it over and stuff. So maybe this is the far side of the car. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, that could be the far side of the car. And it just shows the building of it. Now, of course, with any of these, there's a sketching process. And I can't remember in this book if they show like the sketching process, but I do like the contour lines because this can apply to human figures as well when you're drawing different parts of the anatomy and stuff. It's good to know the contours. So you get to here and you can see the shape. Here are a couple examples of perspective section drawing used for images a bit more complex. Yeah, so that's very cool as well. You kind of have to use your mind's eye to see through these drawings. I mean, you can see the sketch lines and stuff, but you can see, especially in this one and this one, this type of stuff they're doing right there. I think I'm skipping a page. Nope. I had to design a car for a freelance job I was doing, and it has curves and stuff like this to it. 'Cause I love stuff like this. This is cool, this 1-point perspective. The perspective isn't centered right here. It's here, so you really are forced to look more here at the cockpit and stuff where the driver is. So even though it's 1-point perspective, it's really focusing the eye. This is like an architectural drawing where you see the top, front, back, side. You only need to see half of each, the front and back, and even the top, because it's a mirror image. So this is going into establishing your perspective. All this stuff is kind of right out of drawing comics the Marvel way with the blocks and stuff. Here. So see, I wasn't wrong. So here's one where they did the contour outline of the car on the side like previous, but then here's one where they do it in the middle. This is cool because these front tires are turned just a little bit, so they're not in the same perspective as the rest of the car. So nice step-by-step that you can do to follow along. I do think they go into some of the mindset of what they think about when they're designing cars for Hot Wheels. This gets really involved here. Looks a little more complicated than it is. When I first looked through this book, I was like, wow, that is hardcore. But, once you read it and you just really think about it and even practice it, it's not as bad as it looks. I mean, they're really taking you through the steps on this one. This guy, I'm sure there was an initial sketch for this car, maybe just the side view that the guy drew really quick, and then it's like, okay, now I need to do the final 3/4 drawing like this and going into all these steps. And in here, you can kind of see this is the basics of it, but then you could take this and extrapolate and do different things to juice it up into the Hot Wheels way. Force perspective. Now, I love this. This is forced because the points are so close together. This is 2-point perspective, and 1 point, I mean, they're just really close. And if you're doing more realistic perspective, the points are farther away from each other. Forced perspective, you bring the points in closer. But it really makes you feel like the camera's right here. This one's great because it's 1 point. And you can see if you draw a straight line this way and a straight line this way, the point is somewhere up here, really tight. And in 3-point, with the other point dropping down off the page. And then, so you got the 1 point here, the down point here, and then another point going off to the right to give it that nice warped looking perspective. Adding graphics and detail. Here's one. This is done old school. I wish there was a year to it. This looks like it might have been a little bit of Photoshop as well. That's really cool. Looks like that's all old school. And what I mean by that is no digital enhancement. Batmobile monster truck. Love that. Totally forgot about this design. I wonder if that got made. It would be cool. I should actually try and find, see if any of these cars were actually made. It'd be cool to be able to actually own one of the cars that you see in this book. I mean, at least I think it would be. So this is kind of just like a portfolio type thing, just showing, obviously there hasn't been a lot of text. Design and styling. So this is the chapter that gets into what makes Hot Wheels Hot Wheels. 2000 first edition. What is that? That almost looks like either a Dodge or a Camaro. Really cool though. The color of the car does make a difference, so they go into color and stuff. This is cool, very spider design. Could be a spider-mobile. Once again, I wouldn't want to draw that in a comic all over the place. It's kind of like superhero costumes. The reason they were simple back in the day, it looked like they were just painted on naked bodies, is because guys had to pump out pages. And now they're like, oh, let's put all these details on a costume, which slows it down. Beautiful marker drawing here. I like this because this is tangible. I can hold this marker drawing. I could own it. This is from 1989. This is cool, but it's a digital file. And the only way you get it is to print it out. So, and here we go. Traditional sketching and rendering versus digital. Pros and cons. So, and there are definitely pros when it comes to drawing the stuff digitally, if you have to adjust things. But even still, after it's drawn digitally, you could print it out and still color it by hand. Make it shiny. This definitely goes into lighting and stuff for the cars. This is really cool, seeing this here, and then you see the photograph here and you think, wow, that's a real car. It's like, nope, look how tiny that is. Just showing how the different paint reacts to the light. Even the shadows and stuff. That's cool. Traditional media rendering, step-by-step demo. Let me just read that caption at the top, or text. This is traditional media step-by-step color rendering demo. The chalk work was hard to do on the paper I chose. I did this rendering on copy paper because it's readily available, and the Hot Wheels design team frequently uses copy paper. If you're going to try one of these for yourself, you'll need to gather the supplies listed in the tools and materials chapter of the book. So this is going to be colored on copy paper. Copy paper. So here I've done a ballpoint pen line drawing of the Hot Wheels car I want to render. I've worked out the perspective, the cast shadow, and where the reflections will go in this line drawing. I've included the graphics. So ballpoint pen, obviously over, probably traced over a pencil sketch. The next step is to do an overlay of your original sketch. I've done this with the same ballpoint pen. The sketch measures about 9 inches, so that's cool. It gives you a sense. So it's a little bigger than, well, actually, no, this is 8.5 this way. So it's only a little bit wider than this page. Obviously used ellipse guide. I love the fact that's a ballpoint pen. I'm not going to read all these. So it says he's enlarged the sketch by 150% onto 11 by 17 copy paper. So that's cool. And then he's doing the background first. I'm trying to see if it says if he masked stuff off. Playing with the markers. He even says if you work on better marker paper like Letraset, you won't get as much streaking and stuff. But this guy's a pro. I'm sure I won't even really notice it when it's done. I don't think he masked anything out. He was just very careful laying the color down. Oh, come on now. Oh, he did frisket it out. Look at that. What? That's weird. Step 6. What are we getting here? I'm about to apply new pastel chalk to my rendering. To help keep my rendering clean, I'm going to make a simple paper mask to isolate the area where I want to add the chalk. I do this by making another copy of the original drawing and then cutting out the area where I want to add chalk. Oh, okay, yeah. I've done this before too, actually, where if I want to do splatter on a page in the background, I'll make a copy of the page and then take the copy and cut out what I want masked. I just lay it over top. I don't glue it down or tape it or anything, and then I splatter. So that's pretty cool technique he's doing there. He's doing it. Yeah, he's cutting out for the blower shield. I assume that's what it is. And doing the chalks, he wants to go back and forth and cover the whole thing, but not get any color over top. Oh, and then also the window and stuff. Oh, that's really cool. He's about halfway done there. I wish he would say, like, I'm about halfway done and I've got, 5 hours into this or whatever. I think it's good to know because some people see this stuff and think it's just done so fast. I think it's good to know how long something took somebody. And then here's the final stage. He's added gouache to it as well. And it even says he spent about 15 minutes in Photoshop working on this as well to add some glows and stuff. But 90% of it was done by hand. So, and then here we go, a digital demo. This is cool for digital rendering techniques. I wish these images were bigger. I mean, look at all this space they're killing down here. Obviously, when you do it this way, you've got a lot more latitude with playing with stuff, with the color, and not having to worry as much if you mess up. Adding some grainy noise texture to the ground is cool. Talks about the different layers and what he's adding and the type of layers and stuff, which is very helpful. Now it's time to make it shiny. So let's see what he's doing here. When you think of rendering shiny painted surfaces, it might be easier to think of them as two surfaces. If you think of and render the base paint color as matte, then think of and render the reflections of the environment around the car as chrome. This is the basis of the method I'm going to now walk you through. So this is masking. That's what the color stuff is. And he's going into different clone stamping tools and stuff. And then, depending on the type of layers you use and the opacity, you can see the rendering he has going on to get the shines. Oh, I'm so sorry about the light and how it's reflecting on this page. I will have to do better next time. Oh, he's putting the logo on it and stuff. I mean, definitely doing this, the lettering and stuff in Photoshop is a heck of a lot easier. And then I wish he would have shown the final car bigger. But let's see what he says here. Here I have doubled up my sky reflection and the front of the car ground reflection strengths. Since you have your layers well organized, it's easy to adjust the color and value of any layer you want without having to redo the rendering from scratch. Here I've tweaked the base color, which is true. That's the nice thing about Photoshop, is being able to go in and just tweak something. Now, you would want to duplicate the layer he's changing so you can do that, and then you can still have your two options. A couple more digital rendering examples. 3D modeling. Let's see. It says they use computer programs like Alias, Rhino, AutoCAD, Auto Studio, or Maya. I don't think SketchUp was a program back then. It'd be cool to see an updated version of this book to talk about SketchUp, because that has become such a key program for modeling in 3D. So schools and stuff. Schools, let's see. The Hot Wheels designers interviewed for this book attended Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, University of Cincinnati in Ohio, and Leeds University and Salford University in England. Another very good school for transportation design is the College for Creative Studies in Detroit. Internships, of course. Favorite books. This is hard to read. I'll read them. Car Styling. Concept Design Works from Seven Los Angeles Entertainment Designers. Drawing and Painting Racing Cars by Michael Turner. Not the great comic book artist Michael Turner. How to Draw Cars Like a Pro by Tom Taylor. I gotta look. I might have that one. I'll have to look. Anything by Sid Mead, and then the Art of Star Wars books. That is true. Favorite websites. Car Design News. I'd be curious to see if these sites are still actually around. Sijun.com. Site deals more with Photoshop and painting. Oh, that's cool. Harold Belker. He's a car guy for movie cars. He designed the Minority Report car and the Batmobile for Batman and Robin. Design Studio Press. That is a great website that has lots of great books. And I believe the author of this book, Scott Robertson, has books on Design Studio Press. Oh, Draw Through. That's the online portfolio for Scott Robertson. And Neville Page. Oh, that's cool. Oh, the Gnomon Workshop. Good Brush, Auto Week, Speed Options, Overboost, Supercars, Wing West. So there's that. And then just getting to like the ending and then talking about Scott Robertson and stuff. Like I said, Robertson's publishing company is Design Studio Press. There you go. Learn something new. I didn't know that was his actual company. Yeah, how-to DVDs. I've seen them set up at San Diego the past few years I've gone. So definitely check that website out if you like it as well. And that is it. I mean, that is the book look. What do we got here? Other MBI Publishing Company titles. How to Draw Cars Like a Pro. I'll have to look. I either used to have it or I still have it. How to Draw Aircraft Like a Pro. Racing and collecting slot cars. I used to do slot cars. Slot Car Bible. So there you go. I'll have to look to see if I have that one. But that's it. How to draw cars the Hot Wheels way. I'm sure this is still available. If it is, I will, of course, put the link in the description below. Thank you for joining me for this book look. Next week, I've got a treat for you of a book I recently picked up. I'm going to show you guys. What's a tease for it? What's a tease for it? The tease is it deals with ads from comic books that we all grew up with and loved, compiled into one nice little book. That is my tease for the book for next week. I'll see you guys then. Check out andysmithart.com, Kor-Drath.com, Kor-Drath.com. Kor-Drath, The Reckoning, 76 pages of brutal, ball-busting barbarian action. That's the book. I am working on the production part of it now to hopefully get this book to the printer by the end of September, so we ship it out in November as promised. The campaign is still in demand, so you can back Kor-Drath. Go do it. Once we hit 100,000 bucks, the stretch goal of the 4-page Bud Root story will be unlocked, and it'll be an 80-page book with 4 gorgeous pages by Bud Root featuring the character Lilineth. To see some of that, go to the link in the description below at Indiegogo and back the book today. We are over $90,000, even though it only says 86 on Indiegogo, because we ran 2 campaigns and I totaled the campaigns. So we are over $90,000. So go check it out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next week. Please like, subscribe, and share these videos to grow the channel. Thank you all.